let me tell you, there are people, if you watch The Late Show with Colbert, he has an ongoing routine about the world ending because of Donald Trump. Now, I received an award, was the keynote speaker at a Media Research Center event back last fall. It was in September. In fact, it was the night before the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus were released. I almost told Bozell I can't make it because the iPhone's coming out the next day, but I went. And as part of the evening, they show the funniest, the most outrageous, the stupidest, the dumbest, the most ridiculous video clips of drive-by media commentators, journalists, and analysts, and the stupid things they say. And everybody uproariously laughs. So I watched this, and when I was introduced to speak, I said, folks, we all laugh at this, but there's something you have to know. They believe it. They believe what you and I think is insane. They believe what you and I laugh at. And I'm here to tell you, I got a note from somebody over the weekend about the bifurcation of America in terms of media. And I've even got a couple sound bites about this today. A friend of mine said that a friend of hers went to a dinner party last week. And most of the attendees were people that literally hate Donald Trump. And the dinner party featured two people who were Trump supporters, two or three people, and it resulted in the dinner party was nothing more than a bunch of people shouting at each other. And the people that hate Trump, are you ready for this, had never heard of Fusion GPS. They didn't have the slightest idea what that is. They had never heard of Glenn Simpson. They had never heard of Christopher Steele. Now, of course, you and I know all of those things and people. We know who they are. We know what Fusion GPS is. They don't. Why not? Their media does not report anything that is in any way derogatory, defamatory, or even critical of Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama or the Obama administration. The media today, the mainstream so-called media, is nothing but 100% never Trump, and they embellish every paranoid fantasy and fear that the left has. And so, don't doubt me on this. There are more people in this country than you would believe who literally believe Donald Trump is going to start a nuclear war, that the earth is going to end either because of climate change or Donald Trump, whichever makes it happen first. We see this, we laugh at it. They believe it. These people have demonstrated for the past year and a half that they are entirely unglued. And I'm not talking just about average, ordinary citizens. I'm talking about people in the Democrat Party, people in the deep state administrative state that are Obama holdovers. They are unhinged. They cannot believe Trump got elected. They think he's the worst example of humanity they have ever seen. He's unfit. He's unqualified. They're beside themselves. Many people on the so-called conservative side, the never-Trumpers, think the same way. And it's not abstract, folks. They literally believe. You see, we watch all media. We read all media. We know what they're watching. We know what they think because we expose ourselves to it. They don't. For the most part, they don't listen to conservative talk radio. They don't read or consult other conservative media. It makes them too uncomfortable. It makes them feel unsafe. They live in their protected little cocoons, and all they do is, Saturday Night Live, the various leftist cable channels, and they have an ongoing literal fear of what is going to happen to America because of Donald, because that's what their media tells them every day. The way to try to understand this, watch CNN now and then, or watch MSNBC, and then tell you when the most outrageous, stupid, harebrained, insane, unrealistic, paranoid things that you hear and see, they believe. So it is not hard for me to understand, not hard for me to believe that there's some lunatic in the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency who literally believes that Donald Trump is the worst human being ever born, the worst president ever, and people need to know what he's going to do. I do not doubt that there is a level of unhinged insanity at the highest levels of government that you would think this kind of behavior would be weeded out and nobody would be there. They are being driven insane each and every day. As each day comes and goes and Trump survives, they become even more unglued and unhinged. So the possibility that some deranged lunatic did this on purpose to try to show people, to try to warn people, to try to give people a heads up about what could happen out there, I would totally believe it if this were to be discovered and reported. It would make total sense with everything else that's happened in the past year and a half. I mean, we're relying on a fake dossier bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton that is filled with made-up allegations, none of it corroborated. We probably have all of these investigations taking place because of it. We have probably the Trump campaign and transition team spied on by virtue of a FISA warrant using this dossier. Wasn't that long ago that this kind of thing nobody would think is possible. People are too responsible in these positions. These are very important. Intelligence, law enforcement, this is too important, but they have been corrupted by their own hatred, by their own misery, by their own depression, the fact they can't get rid of Trump, the fact they couldn't beat Trump, the fact that Trump survives them every day. It would be easier to describe the American left the last year and a half as completely, totally unhinged and insane than describe them as normal, predictable. This is the way it's always been. It's not the way it's always been. 34 minutes, hit the wrong button twice. You can't find probably maybe 200 conservatives in the whole state of Hawaii, except maybe for the military. I have to take a break. I'm a little long here. Don't go away. Yeah, welcome back. Oh, no, I know that the drive-bys can't wait to tell everybody their interpretation of what I just said. I don't care, folks. It's worth running the risk. Look, they've called me a kook for, 25 or 30 years now. But I'll tell you what really focused me on this is when I heard this on CNN yesterday morning.
I think there are a lot of people out there, and I don't want to be flip about this, I think there are a lot of people out there who are happy that this at least didn't happen while President Trump was watching Fox and Friends. And instead it happened when he was out on the golf course and he was informed about this by layers of advisors and such, because we know that historically misunderstandings and false alarms have almost led to nuclear confrontation, nuclear war.
Right. So it's a good thing this idiot was playing golf and not watching Fox and Friends. Because if Trump had been watching Fox News and seen it there, he would have called the football guy in and launched on North Korea. You tell me they're not thinking about this. And welcome back. We kick off a brand new week of broadcast excellence on this, the most listened to radio talk show in America. Yes, Mr. Snerdley, I know that they're going to make fun of me. That's the best they can do. They can't refute me. Do you think, let's say that my theory on this is right. Do you think that the Hawaii Emergency Management Administration would say, sorry, we have a never Trump guy here who literally hates Trump. He lost his mind, and he wanted to try to warn people what he thinks the president might cause. And, of course, they would never say that. Of course they're going to say it was a mistake. A 37-minute mistake, hit the wrong button twice. They could never say. So it's going to be easy to, that would never happen. That could never be the case. But, my friends, there are too many oddball, kooky things that have gone on the last year and a half. I mean, some of the deranged Like now, it's Martin Luther King Day. And guess what? The NAACP says you can no longer support Dr. King's version of civil rights without also being a supporter of the belief in climate change. That climate change and Dr. King are inseparable. Now, you want to tell me that that's credible? Do you want to tell me that that's adjusted and sane? Do you want to tell me that that makes any sense whatsoever? Do you want to tell me that any climate change argument they make makes any sense? Really, am I the only person who thought this is possible given what we know about the kooks on the left? In fact, first thing I thought when I heard that this false nuke alarm thing, before I even knew the details, when all I knew was that it was a false nuke alarm, my first reaction, I wonder if it's somebody out there who wanted to give the world a glimpse of what'll happen if we don't get rid of Trump. These people have lost their marbles over Trump. They have lost, I call it sanity. I think they've lost their grounding. Their minds are generally being chipped away by their own poisonous rage and disappointment. Where do you hear this? Get this funny story about what Samantha Power did on election night. I mean, folks, these people are I don't know how to adequately describe this beyond this. I mean, unhinged and unglued, I think, is perfect. That's why I keep repeating it. Well, how many times have you heard some leftist kook caterwaul about his or her fear that Trump is certain to start a nuclear war because he's so stupid, because he doesn't know what he's doing, because he's unfit, because he's unqualified? There is a CBS radio promo for Colbert's late-night CBS TV program where Colbert says, if the world ends, Trump will be a one-term president. Now, leftist comedy shows are not comedy anymore. They're really rooted in anger and rage. But the other thing that we learn that is kind of surprising is just what a bunch of sponges, your average ordinary leftists, average ordinary American citizen leftists have become. They're unquestioning, they're unchallenging, they're uncurious or incurious. They simply believe whatever outrageous impossibility is reported to them in the only media that they consume. So I think daily unhinged behavior requires us to be a little cynical about these people. Otherwise, it was just some good, innocent soul that pressed the wrong button a couple times, right? That's all it really was. There's nothing to see here. Yeah, it hasn't happened before, but there could be explanations for that. And apparently there weren't any fail-safes. How can that be when, as I say, you have to confirm 3 times you want to erase your iPhone before they will let you do it? Right here it is. Hawaii says lack of adequate fail-safe measures led to false missile alert. How can that be? How can there be a lack of adequate fail-safe measures at any stage of whatever nuclear system and programs are in place in this country? How can that be? Human error, this is from Reuters, human error and a lack of adequate fail-safe measures during a civil defense warning drill led to the false missile alert that stirred panic. Do you think it took them 37 minutes to figure out that it was a mistake? What took 37 minutes to comprehend this? 37, depending on where the missile was theoretically launched from, it would have hit before they got the correction out. Theoretically. 37 minutes, no fail-safe or inadequate fail-safe measures. You can believe a lack of adequate fail-safe measures? You can believe it. You can believe that it took them 37 minutes to realize it was false? You mean to tell me that for 30 minutes they thought it was real? Look at this the other way. It took 37 minutes to figure. Let's give them 2 minutes to get the correction. So 35 minutes. Let's give them 35 minutes to figure out that they had made a mistake. It's government. How many layers did they have to go through? How many bureaucracies did they have to wake up? How many? Right, and then double check with this one or that one. So you're trying to make the case that it literally could take 35 minutes to discover this was a mistake. It's an incoming nuclear missile. 35 minutes. You want to try to make the case that it is reasonable and understandable given the level of bureaucracy. It's understandable and reasonable. It would take them 35 minutes to admit somebody made a mistake. Not reasonable, but believable, you say. On a false warning of an incoming nuclear missile. Well, okay, since the guy hit the wrong button twice, was there anybody monitoring the missile that was incoming? I'm just saying, was somebody monitoring the incoming missile? If it took them 35 minutes to figure out it wasn't true, were they tracking the incoming missile? I mean, their procedures were working well enough to tell people to hide in the sewer drains. Their procedures are working well enough to tell people to get their kids in buildings and away from glass. So did they call over to the Big Island at Mauna Kea, say, has any of your satellites, any of your warning systems, is there a missile coming? And everybody assumes it's North Korea, right? Where was the missile? How long did it take them to track the missile and find out it wasn't there? And when they couldn't find the missile, wow, it must be stealth. When they couldn't find the missile, did they still believe it was there? 35 minutes. Here is Tulsi Gabbard, who is one of the senators from Hawaii. That was on with George Stephanopoulos on ABC this week. Question, do you believe Trump should be speaking directly to the leader of North Korea? Do you think this is just coincidental? We have a false, phony warning, and within minutes we've got the senator from Hawaii being asked if Trump ought to get on the phone and call Kim Jong-un right now. You really want to tell me that this is how, and this is the first thing they thought of? When they discovered there was no incoming missile, it was a false alarm because of a button hit wrong twice. We need Trump to get on the phone to Kim Jong. Why? Because Trump is the problem? Remember when Reagan was president? Do not doubt me on this. When Reagan was president, the American left believed he was going to end the world. They believed he was irresponsible. He was a cowboy. He made jokes about the evil empire and the bombing starting in 5 minutes, and that drove them battlily insane. And so when Mikhail Gorbachev came to Washington, 1986, for a summit with Reagan, the American left had a gigantic sigh of relief because the savior of the world was finally coming to stop Reagan from hitting the nuclear button. They thought Reagan wanted to destroy the Soviet Union. They thought Reagan wanted to start nuclear war. Gorbachev was the savior. That's why I coined the term Gorbasms to describe what they experienced, the American left, when Gorbachev arrived, got off the plane at Joint Base Andrews. Well, back then it was known as Andrews Air Force Base. But the same thing, folks. They thought Reagan was going to nuke him, and it was Mikhail Gorbachev of the deadly and murderous Soviet Union who was going to save the world from Ronald Reagan. And now Tulsi Gabbard wants Trump to get on the phone with Kim Jong-un so that Kim Jong-un can talk Trump out of it. Let's see. Let's listen to what she says. A question again. you think Trump should be speaking directly to the leader of North Korea?
Absolutely, and immediately. This is something that I've been calling for a long time. I've been talking about the seriousness of this threat posed to the people of Hawaii and this country coming from North Korea. The people of Hawaii are paying the price now for decades of failed leadership in this country.
Who might she be talking about? Decades of failed leadership. Who was it that kicked the North Korea can down the road just like the budget is kicked down the road? That would be Bill Clinton. That would be Madam Albright. That'd be Barack Hussein Obama. That'd be everybody but Trump. Trump is the only one dealing with this lunatic in ways the lunatic can understand. I'm telling you, Trump is president when Kim Jong-un wants to start talking to the South Koreans. That didn't happen during the precious presidency of Clinton. That didn't happen during the Enlightenment days of Barack Hussein O. Now, the Pope's even out there. The Pope warns the world is one step away from nuclear war. The world isn't any closer to nuclear war than it was Friday. And yet, we have a mistaken warning for 37 minutes. It was untrue. There was no incoming missile. And yet now everybody's, oh, my God. We're so close to nuclear war. We're no closer than we were last month. What happened in Hawaii doesn't put us any closer to anything other than something's really out of whack in the Hawaii emergency management.